It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We are back, baby. Another Monday episode of your source for fantasy hockey news. It's the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Top waiver wire targets that you're going to need on a very intriguing stretch of the NHL schedule and a little weekend NHL news roundup. Thank you for joining us. Let's tap in.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome back inside the lab to the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, and I'm joined, as always, by my esteemed co-host, Mr. Steele Roden, on this side of the microphone. It's your boy, Big Flip Livingstone, and a huge shout-out and thank you to our everydayers and for all of y'all for making us your first listen every single day. It means a lot to both Steele and I, so keep hammering that subscribe button and drop us a 5-star review. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your best bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. My goodness, Steele. The NHL is buzzing right now. We've got news to talk about. Signings. The Edmonton Oilers doing truly special things, and we're going to talk about them in a minute. We're going to round up some news. Auston Matthews, a 40-piece, cooking with gas. Hey, now, Toronto Maple Leafs, couple of good games here. Samsonov to the rescue. Talk quickly about that. Steal right off the top. Top waiver wire targets, of course. We're feeling a little Italian energy on today's episode, Steele, so I'm fired up. Monday, I got a same-game parlay for y'all. It's a quiet, weird stretch of the schedule, Steele. We got the NHL All-Star Break. A lot of leagues out there, I'm going to throw it right over to you in a sec, but a lot of leagues out there are putting 2 weeks together because a couple of teams have a couple of games over the next few days, and then the next week is also included. So keep that in mind for waiver wire targets, y'all. Thanks for joining us. Steele, weekend roundup quickly. Auston Matthews, 40-piece. Not too much to talk about here other than this is the best goal scorer in the NHL. Yes. He goes, the Leafs go, and it's nice to see Johnny T get off the schneid, but just very quickly, 40 goals for this guy, 70 isn't out of the question, is it?
No, it's not out of the question at all. 40 goals in 46, 47 games for Auston Matthews. He reaches 600 points in his NHL career, right behind Mitch Marner, who did it just a couple of weeks ago, I believe. So it's spectacular. You know, I think, 3 weeks ago, I said that he's going to get 50 and 60, and he's well on the pace for that as well. 70 is not out of the question. But, man, Sam Reinhart is doing special things as well right now. He's right on Auston Matthews' tail. It's like every time Sam Reinhart scores, Auston Matthews scores. Every time Matthews scores, Reinhart scores again. So it's very tight right now for the
Loving it.
Richard.
Absolutely loving it. And on the other side of the conference, in the West, Edmonton. This is special now, and they are one short of the NHL record. I got this graphic up, doing research all day here, Steele. They are now just tied the 2017 Blue Jackets with 16 wins. I don't know how that happened either. But the 1992-93 Pittsburgh Penguins, I believe that was a Stanley Cup team as well. Lemieux and Yager, 17 wins. They are one shy. Connor McDavid said it, though, and I want your take on this because I really do think this is the key. We've known that this team has offense for days, very balanced attack, two of the best players to ever do it. It's been the back end, but now Knobloch comes in, recommitted to the defensive system that clearly wasn't working under Woodcroft. They're playing a lot better and insulating their biggest weakness, their goaltending. And now they're getting some solid goaltending from both Calvin Pickard and Stuart Skinner. What's your take on this, Steele? Because right now, there literally is no stopping this Edmonton team.
Yeah, there isn't. And Stuart Skinner has been absolutely spectacular. You know, Calvin Pickard comes in every now once and again. He did get a shutout the other day against the Chicago Blackhawks, which is good for him too. But it's really Stuart Skinner and the defensive side of things now for the Edmonton Oilers that are rolling on the 16-game win streak. You know, they went from 30th place in the NHL to 10th place in the NHL over this 16-game winning streak. An absolute historic run for the Oilers. But again, I mentioned this a few episodes ago. I just want to put things into perspective about the 16 wins that the Edmonton Oilers have won, because if you go down the list of all the teams in the NHL, they've won 0 games against top 5 teams, 1 win against teams from 6th to 10th place, 6 wins against teams from 11th to 20th, 3 wins against 21st to 27th, and 6 wins against the bottom 5 teams in the NHL. So
wow.
I said this a few episodes ago that it hasn't been the most difficult schedule for the Oilers over this run. But look at what they're doing on the defensive side of things.
Yes.
I believe in every game that they've won on this run, 16 games in a row, they haven't allowed more than 2 goals against in this run. So the defensive side of things, Stuart Skinner's been playing out of his mind, and the Edmonton Oilers offensive guys are rolling with a lot of those depth guys playing as well. Ryan McLeod, Warren Fogle have been really spectacular. Dylan Holloway's been pretty good. Corey Perry enters the equation now in his first game the other day. So Oilers are rolling. It hasn't been the most difficult schedule for them, but this is great confidence booster moving forward after the All-Star break, and obviously when they get into the postseason.
26-6 under Knobloch. Don't feel too bad for Jay Woodcroft, but that was basically the exact same team. Anyway, have to be discussed. A lot of peripheral fantasy value that is now surging with this Edmonton team. You talked about it, Stuart Skinner right there. Big reason why I've had a couple of good weeks in both of our leagues is my goaltending. Jake Ottinger, as much as he has been spotty, he's getting wins because the Dallas Stars are what the Dallas Stars are. And Stuart Skinner is getting a plenty of wins. So I've been having a pretty good run. So have you. That's what we're going to keep going. But we got to get to waiver wire targets after the break. Owen Tippett, first and foremost, though, Steele, because I know you got to take on this. Speaking of keeping it rolling, Owen Tippett earned this money by the by. 24-year-old winger signs an 8-year, $49.6 million contract extension with a very, very team-friendly AAV of $6.2 million. For a guy that I think has 35-plus goal potential in the NHL, Steele, and, that's not crazy considering he had 27 in 77 games last year, I think, given his slow start to his career and kind of getting buried on a very deep Florida team to start his career, I'm going to say his development just came a little slow. He's only 24 years old and just scratching the surface.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that take. And I think this contract speaks to what his value is. I think it's the perfect contract for both Philadelphia and for Owen Tippett himself. $49.6 million over the 8 years for the Flyers. He's got 18 goals, 30 points in 46 games. He's on pace for 54 points while doing this, playing under 16 minutes of average ice time so far this season for the Flyers. 165 shots, 68 hits. He's a big guy for 24 years old. He's not afraid to get physical. And every once in a while, he'll make your jaw drop and you'll say, what the heck did I just witness? Like, this is a player who can score highlight reel goals. And we just witnessed that last week against the Stars with that filthy spinorama backhand top right corner.
Dirty.
Wow, skating at full speed almost.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Again, like he's going to be a highlight reel goal scorer for the Philadelphia Flyers as he continues to develop in this league. But let's really think about the turnaround this Flyers club has made from last season, where they finished 26th in the league, to currently where they're sitting 14th in the league, 3rd in the Metropolitan, and they've been banking on their young players to come through, and they are right now. Travis Konechny, Owen Tippett, Morgan Frost, Noah Cates, they get Jamie Drysdale, and again, just kind of looking at the NHL salary cap, and looking at their bankroll right now, they don't really have any egregiously bad contracts. I think you could maybe put Rasmus Ristolainen in there, perhaps. But other than that, their contracts have been pretty soundproof from what I've seen so far. I want to throw Joel Farabee in there because he's been very good this season for the Flyers. But they've got some young players. They got a couple of veterans on their lineup, and this team's rolling right now. And John Tortorella is a big reason for that. As much as I don't love him, he's a fantastic coach. He can really get his team into the games with the way that he coaches and the way that he speaks to them sometimes. But he's done a phenomenal job. The players are listening to him, and look what they're doing right now.
Really also like what Danny Briere is doing in the front office with this club already. Obviously, that Cutter Gauthier situation was not something that I think they fully expected to have to handle. They've obviously had to handle Danny Briere's own son off the ice issues. There's been a lot going on with this Flyers team, actually. And most importantly of them all, you highlighted it, and they're a pesky team to play against, taking on a little bit of their persona of their coach, highlighting all the angles there. But the biggest one possible, Owen Tippett is on the come up in a big way as being one of those very, very real first few round targets for offensive value in the right format. Am I saying he's a first or second round pick? No, he's not. But if he starts scoring 30 goals with regularity, I'm going to start looking at him in those third, fourth, fifth rounds of every draft, because 35 plus goal scorers don't come around a ton. A little bit more breakdowns of all the fantasy news is coming up in a couple of minutes right after the break. Top waiver wire targets. I actually have a little bit of a question to pose for my man Steele about the West Coast teams. There's 3 of them. They could be the best 3 in the NHL. Very quickly, we'll talk about that. And man, oh man, I got some good waiver wire targets for y'all and a same game parlay coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers.
Attention hockey fans looking for NHL news and analysis? Look no further than the Locked On NHL podcast, offering daily insights on all the top NHL stories. From trade deadline and free agency rumors, teams on the rise, and discussion on the league's biggest stars, Locked On NHL has you covered for 30 minutes, 5 days a week. For your next listen, check out the Locked On NHL podcast, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to hit the subscribe. Make sure you also go to YouTube to check out Locked On Sports Today. They've launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. They are here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus the national shows covering every single league. So make sure you go over there, subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. And we are going to continue on today's episode, Monday waiver wire targets. We got the waiver wire targets, only one game for big time bets, but flip real quick. The Western Canadian teams right now. You're saying that they're the top 3 teams in the NHL. They've been absolutely spectacular. I know the Jets have lost the last 2 against our Toronto Maple Leafs, but still
don't hate that.
Don't hate it. Winnipeg Jets, Vancouver Canucks, and Edmonton Oilers are rolling.
So I just got to pose the question, Steele, because now we're very well past the halfway point of this season. So as much as I wasn't maybe buying into the Vancouver Canucks at the start of the year or the Winnipeg Jets, you have to now. Especially, I would say, this Vancouver Canucks team. They deserve a lot of credit. So does Rick Tocchet. So does the entire franchise. 71 point steal. Elias Pettersson is going to get his money as well. That was another thing I wanted to mention. But when I look at the odds, and this is what I wanted to bring up here, Edmonton Oilers have crept all the way up to the second favorite behind the Colorado Avalanche at plus 900. Colorado's plus 800. But right there, somehow, Boston Bruins plus 1,000. I just got to throw this out there. Plus 2,000 for the Vancouver Canucks. I'm not ready to call them the Stanley Cup champion, Steele. I just wanted to come on and make this point that 3 of the best teams are not only in the West, they are Canadian clubs, and you can make an argument that they are the 3 best. Obviously, Bruins, Rangers, Avs, how are in that conversation? Panthers even.
Panthers as well, yeah.
I just wanted to bring it up because we are teed up for a very, very good second half, and I'll leave it at this. From what I saw this weekend, from all the young studs doing their thing, this league is in good hands, and I think we are in for a real treat. Speaking of which, if you don't mind, if you haven't been paying attention to both Steele and I on this player, and he's my number 1 target right now, and this is what I also wanted to say, Steele, I'm firing up right now. There is a very weird schedule. So this week is combined with next week. I was making that point. Thomas Harley, my friends.
Oof,
I've said it before. I said it again. We throw out predictions aplenty, and a lot of them stick. Some of them don't. Thomas Harley was one that I am going to be proud of. We've been on him for from the jump of the season. 36% on Yahoo, 36% on ESPN, 41 on Yahoo, and 71 on Fantrax Steel. I'm digging into my Fantrax numbers. You called it. He's playing with Miro Heiskanen. Back-to-back OT winners, his third OT winner of the season. He's jumping up into the rush like a seasoned veteran. And this guy, I'm telling you, I said it all year. How is he still available at those percentages?
Yeah, I know.
Jump on this kid right now. He's on a good team, and he is a star.
And he's got, 13 or 14 goals on the season now? He's been absolutely spectacular.
12
3-game
winners for a defenseman.
12 goals from Thomas Harley on the blue line. He's been absolutely spectacular. He's doing what I thought Jake Sanderson would be doing this season. So he's been absolutely incredible to watch. I've got him on my watch list. I'm picking him up tomorrow. Again, this is a weird time for fantasy leagues right now. Week 17 will be a 2-week matchup. So again, there's not many games this upcoming week. I believe only one or two clubs. Yeah, 2 clubs have 2 games this week. Other
Sharks
teams,
and
Sharks and
maybe?
Senators. Senators have 2 games this week. One of them being tomorrow or on Monday, excuse me. But yeah, I've got an honorable mention. This is going to be mostly from the Atlantic Division. I've got 5 players, one an honorable mention, but mostly all of them come from the Atlantic Division. Number 1, honorable mention. Got to talk about him. Ilya Samsonov, 59% rostered on Yahoo, 54 on ESPN. 3 games, 3 wins, 1 shutout, a .954 save percentage since coming back from his AHL stint. So this has been incredible, a big confidence booster for him, and he really wants to take over that crease again for the Maple Leafs, and he's making a good case for himself right now. Again, only 3 games, but he's been absolutely spectacular. So I wanted to mention him real quick as an honorable mention, but I have 3 other players from the Atlantic Division right now, starting off with Sean Monahan of the Montreal Canadiens. 17% rostered on Yahoo and on ESPN. 13 goals, 35 points in 49 games, 16 points on the power play, 3 game-winning goals, 104 shots, and shooting at 12.9 shooting percentage right now. This feels like it's been the first time in a while that he's been fully healthy and hasn't struggled with any injuries. And that's why I want to talk about him, because he's really getting into the game right now at a comfortable pace and a comfortable speed. 11 points in his last 7 games. And I know the Montreal Canadiens are not the best team in the NHL. You know, they're just below 500% right now in the win column. So they're not completely terrible, but 2 major problems come with it. They don't score a lot of goals, and they give up a ton of goals. 28th in goals for, 29th in goals against. So you're not getting it a lot of there. And this is a little bit of a side talk or side debate right now.
Love sidebars.
I got to bring it up because I remember when we first when we were first doing this podcast, we had a little bit of a debate about Cole Caulfield and what he would be doing if he would be an elite goal scorer. And I wasn't fully convinced. I'm still not fully convinced. And I'll end with this. I believe Cole Caulfield is going to have a great career in the NHL. He's got, I believe his career trajectory is going to be like the knockoff version of Mitch Marner. I don't think he's going to be that elite goal scorer in the NHL. I think he's going to be more of a playmaker. And I think he's going to be passing the puck more. I'm not saying that he can't score highlight reel goals, but he's going to be on the same trajectory for me as Mitch Marner, but a knockoff version.
Yeah, okay. I'm here for that. I'm here for that take. And I only because like Mitch Marner to me is just he is an elite. You say what you will about the rest of his game, but playmaking wise, he's elite. Cole Caulfield to me on any other team playing with anyone else is going to have double the points he has. And he's still got almost 40 in 49 games, but don't hate this take, Steele. I got a player in Brayden Schenn that when I'm looking at digging into numbers and we say good spots in bad teams, Brayden Schenn right now is hot. He's got 5 points in his last 4 games, including, 3 goals. Anyway, this is the spot for the St. Louis Blues, though, that they have been one of those teams that are up and down. Yeah. But right now, I think they pulled off back-to-back OT wins. Am I looking at that right? Yeah. 4-3 against the Kraken, 4-3 against the Canucks. So there is some value to be had when bad teams start to play better, and that's why I'm looking at Brayden Schenn. I mentioned the numbers over the last 5 games. He gets penalty minutes, chips in with shots. Sometimes he throws the body around, depending on the night, like it's 0 or it's 5 hits. He's that kind of guy week to week right now. While the Blues are playing well, I'm taking a look at him. 18% on ESPN, 49 on Yahoo, and this is my favorite part. The Blues, while playing good, got the Blue Jackets, Sabres, and Habs over the next 8 days. Obviously, it's like we said, it's broken up, but that is a good spot for Brayden Schenn holding down the second power play unit and the second line in St. Louis.
That's a great thing about Schenn too, is the versatility of his game. He's just not he's not an offensive minded person, but he gets physical. He can drop the gloves. He gets the penalty minutes. So he's a little bit of a banger league beauty, but yeah, he can be a little bit hot and cold at times.
Streaky,
but when he gets hot, he gets going real good. We're going to get to the remaining of our waiver wire targets plus big time bets. I just want to mention this player real quick before we get to break. JJ Peterka of the Buffalo Sabres, 17% rostered on Yahoo, 12 on ESPN. He was a rookie last season. I'm going to go through a little bit of his numbers. He played 77 games, 32 points, was a -15, 125 shots. His shooting percentage was 9.6. That was last year in his rookie season. Currently, he's played 49 games this year. He has more points than his rookie season. He has 34 points this year. He's a +6, 133 shots, so more shots already in way less games. His shooting percentages went from 9.6 to a 13.5, and he's doing this playing 16 minutes of average ice time on the dot. He's on pace for 58 points. Last 5 games, he's recorded 5 goals and 7 points. And give this team maybe two more years maximum or minimum, but I really do think 2 more years, they will be a legitimate threat in the Atlantic Division. Peterka, Cousins, Benson, Quinn, Thompson, Tuck, Dahlin, and Power. A couple more names you could throw in there, maybe even Krebs if he can get going. But I know I've said this before, but if everyone can't see the future of where this team is going, I'm sorry, but you're blind. The Buffalo Sabres are coming. They're not there quite yet, but they are coming soon.
A little bit early on your pick, this little premature this year, but Levi let him down. That's going to happen with so many young players, right? He needs to be insulated. I mentioned that with, I forget what other goalie, but sometimes those goalies need to be protected. So just quickly on your point about Samsonov before we get to break and come back and run off the rest of my targets and a quick same game parlay. Samsonov also deserves a lot of love for how he's been able to come back, and shout out to whatever mental health staff or the the mental health coaches that the Leafs have for bringing this guy back from seemingly almost being done. Islanders, stars, and sends for the Leafs over the next chunk of time. Let's see what he can do. You'll see what we can do right after the break, Steele.
This episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. Happy Super Bowl to all of you out there who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some incredible bets. There is nothing better than grabbing a slice of pepperoni pizza, some saucy chicken wings, and chowing down while you witness your bet in action. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W, maybe 1, 2, or 3 wins. Not only can you bet on who will win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and many, many more. Of course, the same game parlay, the fan favorite on this podcast. New customers join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to hit the subscribe, the follow button, and leave a 5-star review. We appreciate all that love and support you show us every single day. We both got 2 more players on the waiver wire target, so we'll try to rattle them off quick so we can get to big time bets and wrap up this episode before the big game comes on at 3 o'clock Eastern time on Sunday. Flip, I'll throw it over to you. I've got 2 players. Who's your third player here?
Well, actually, I just had to get Samsonov off the chest there before, so that was my third player. That was very quick. Honestly, though, when a goalie does the kind of 180 that Samsonov has done, obviously, I think the numbers on ESPN, he was one of the top ads over the last 7 days. He's on a mid-market club. It makes sense that way. It's just kind of like buyer beware because of how bad he was before. Obviously, goaltenders, you have to you got to ride them. They're going to be streaky. You got to get lucky. Right now, Samsonov, you have to take a look. That's all I wanted to say. Why don't you fire off, and then I can go, you go, and then we'll get to my parlay.
All right, one more player from the Atlantic Division. I love this guy, Lucas Raymond of the Detroit Red Wings. 50% on Yahoo, 35% on ESPN. That is absolutely an abomination to see. Detroit is buzzing right now, and it's not just because of Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions, even though it is. Again, we don't know what that game has held so far, but we're recording a little bit early, but we'll see and wait for tomorrow. But the Red Wings are also buzzing, and they've been buzzing up the standings after a little bit of a slide at beginning of December. 13 goals, 28 assists for 41 points for Raymond. His shooting percentage has increased slightly every single year in the NHL, currently at 14.3%. His plus minus has gone down significantly every year so far as well. 3 straight years of 45 plus points, where he's currently on pace for a career high 69 points. He's on a 4-game point streak, 3 straight games with multiple assists. I got to mention Lucas Raymond because I've got him on multiple teams, and he has been one of those guys for me that has been very pivotal.
It's actually kind of nice to see, as someone who is a Bills fan, a Leafs fan, long-suffering franchises all over the place. Detroit is one of those teams, those cities that we can commiserate with. I've been down to D-Town. That is a great sports city. I want to see them win. I obviously, as a Toronto fan for hockey, don't want to see the Red Wings win too much. But this is what I'm saying, Steele. You're highlighting this team who's now heating up. And look at Tampa, 59 points, Toronto, 58, and the Red Wings, 57. When you then look at maybe those other wildcard teams from the Metro, Islanders, Penguins, maybe the Devs go on a run, there's going to be a couple of those teams left on the cutting room floor, and I don't even know who it's going to be yet. So that's going to be a good run. Like that you're mentioning Raymond. Shout out to Alex Lyon as well, who has really been good. I'm telling you, Steele, there are going to be some teams sniffing around Detroit, because as much as Ville Husso has been up and down, I think they're fine to go with the duo of Husso and Reimer in their minds, or someone sniffs around for Reimer. I don't know. I think the Red Wings are going to be one of those teams that starts the domino effect of moves from a certain angle. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling. Ivan Barbashev, absolutely red hot. 11 points in his last 6 games. The Vegas Golden Knights are back, baby, in a very, very big way. It didn't take too long for that to turn around. All of a sudden, points in 7 of their last 10 games, including 6 wins. So Vegas being back, Barbashev playing on a good line with Marchessault, and who's in the middle there? Is it Nick Roy, whatever. It's one of those guys. And I'm really, really liking his game. He also chips in with the hits. He gets the shots are obviously not there for him, but he's getting this done, Steele, in only 15 minutes of ice time per night. And when someone has 11 points in 6 games, I don't really care. You should be taking a look at him. 63% on ESPN, 59 on Fantrax, and 48 on Yahoo. So it's basically like a 50-50 split that he's out there. They got the Coyotes, Wild, and Oilers. Bit of a mixed bag over the next chunk of schedule. But I'm willing to take a risk on Barbashev right now while he's this hot.
Yeah, he's been real good of late for the Vegas Golden Knights. My last player, I'll get this out quick because we're tight for time. Troy Terry, 38% rostered on Yahoo, 50% on ESPN. Sort of disappeared a little bit, in my opinion, after securing the bag after 2 good years or 2 good seasons, but sort of reappeared at the start of 2024. 5-game point streak with 8 points in that time, 14 goals, 21 assists. He's got 10 power play points and 115 shots. So I just wanted to mention Troy Terry real quick because he's been heating up for the Anaheim Ducks, even though as they continue to struggle a little bit. But Troy Terry, he's out there mostly in most leagues. So definitely give all of these players that Flip and I have mentioned on the waiver wire targets a look. 2-week matchup coming up because of the All-Star break. Same game parlay. I've got 0 bets for tonight because I am not even touching this game of the Nashville Predators and Ottawa Senators, because who knows what could happen in this one. But you've got a same game parlay, so rattle it off, and then we'll go watch the big game here on Sunday night.
Gotta have a little bit of degenerate action on any type of NHL game. Steele, also, I just wanted to give a shout out to this Ottawa Senators team for making me feel good about being a Toronto Maple Leafs fan this year. Straight up and down. I don't even care that I was wrong about the prediction of this team being a playoff threat, because it feels good. However, I am here for the pettiness. Make sure you drop me a comment if you're not feeling it. This is a really, really tough game. But I'm looking at the stats. These teams don't play each other a lot, right? It's like one every other season, maybe once a season. Timmy Stutz is the hottest Senator right now. So I'm going Timmy Stutz, anytime point. That's number 1. This is a same game parlay. As much as the Nashville Predators are 6-1-3 in their last 10 against the Ottawa Senators, those were different Nashville clubs. And I know Nashville has been, for the most part, above average this season.
Yeah.
I just kind of am, and this is totally a gut spot. I'm going with Ottawa on the money line here. Edmonton just pumped Nashville, and as much as the Sens also just got pumped, it's Rangers-Boston that they just lost to.
Yeah.
They had won 2 games previously. So I think Ottawa at home is where I want to go, but I would, if you're going to cop out, Nashville puck line, and put that with the under. This is my favorite pick. It would be my lock of the night. 7 of the last 10 have gone under the number between these two. I believe this is their last game for both of them before their postseason.
Senators have another game on Wednesday.
Okay, Nashville's going to be checked out. Thank you for holding me down. Maybe we got to dial back the bets on this. Hopefully banged out on Sunday. But I'm feeling the under. That's my lock. I like the Timmy Stutz anytime point. And you know what? I'm going to change my third pick to Nashville plus 1.5 because I do think this is going to be a 1-goal game. Very tight. So hit me with that same game parlay, Steele. I hope that one hits because I like jumping around here a little bit. I'm fired up for football.
I don't mind the first 2 picks, but the under 6.5 in this matchup would scare me just because, you can't trust Korpisalo. You can't trust
it's Sogard, spicy,
whatever.
Baby.
So it's definitely a spicy pick, but I like the Stutzla anytime point. This is why I'm staying away from this one game.
Yeah, no, it reeks. It reeks.
It reeks of just, absolute defeat at some point. So those are the same game parlay for flip right there. In this one game on Monday night, Nashville Predators, Ottawa Senators. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to hit the subscribe, the follow button, and leave a 5-star review. Thank you so much again for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day. Good luck with all your bets tonight, and we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Peace.
It's time to take your career to the next level. With over 150 graduate degree programs, the Catholic University of America, located in Washington, D.C., provides world-class academics with a student experience that educates the whole person, mind, body, and spirit. Whether your professional calling is in engineering, nursing, social work, or any of our other exceptional degree programs, encounter the best of everything that Catholic University has to offer and discover the best in yourself. Learn more today at catholic.edu/grad admissions.
Hey, Prime members, you can listen to this Locked On podcast ad-free on Amazon Music. Download the Amazon Music app today.